Well, it is a great project, and we're very happy that it's out there for students and teachers. And one final question, what lessons could be fruitful today? We live in a world that seems very divided politically and ideologically, not just here in America, but around the world, around the Western world, but the entire world. In an age of social media, and what are seemingly, a lot of division. How can that idea of negotiation that you've studied at the Constitutional Convention and elsewhere, how can that maybe lend a little sanity and compromise and moderation to today's politics?
Well, I think first and foremost, I think we need to better understand the processes that gave us the institutions that we've been busy for the past 30 years taking for granted and not really thinking about. I mean, I think many people of my generation didn't study this kind of history in school or at university because surely we'd learned all the lessons. We knew how democracies worked. We'd been given the institutions, and we took them really for granted. And I think we've forgotten just how remarkable the emergence of the liberal democratic capitalist order really was historically, and what a brief moment it has been in world history where we've really enjoyed the liberties that we've enjoyed and the ability for citizens to shape the direction of government that we currently have. So I hope we'll sort of stop taking it for granted, and that's one of the reasons why when we were designing the look of the Quill project, one of the, if you like, rhetorical choices we made for the interface was to make it look very modern. We didn't want a lot of pictures of people in powdered wigs to sort of alienate students from the material, and that's incredibly deliberate. We wanted them to focus on the substance and not the alien and 18th century nature of these debates, partly with a hope that they would see the modern relevance of the material. But I think the other thing that is really remarkable about 1787 is that, leave aside the question of slavery, where I think this point does not apply in quite this way, but for the most part, the American Constitution is so short because it's a document about process. It's a document that sets up how political debate should happen. And although at the convention there were attempts to limit what Congress might or might not do concerning particular taxes or other questions of that nature, for the most part, the document that emerges is broadly neutral on what the policies of the new government will be. And that's something that in modern constitution writing is incredibly difficult to achieve. Because whether you look at the state level constitutions that were written in the 19th and 20th century, or whether you look internationally, more and more later writers of constitutions have tried to write policy outcomes into their constitutional texts. And I think one of the really remarkable things about 1787 was the restraint that the convention showed in not doing that, and really setting up a text that set the boundaries for discussion. Now, they weren't perfect, and some people did try and set in constitutional terms what federal policy might be on particular issues, but largely they didn't succeed. And the document that emerges is one that provides a broadly neutral forum for debate, and then the subsequent congresses have been left to work through those issues. And if I had a hope for the future in constitution writing, it would be that we had the courage to do that more rather than less, and to trust the people more rather than less. And I think, again, for all that the convention is sometimes criticized as not being democratic enough, they really did leave future Congresses enormous latitudes on policy questions that would be almost unimaginable today. You know, that if America were to have a constitutional convention today, I suspect there would be very definite attempts to try and write policy preferences into the base constitutional text.
Nicholas Cole of the Quill Project at Pembroke, we thank you very much for your time, and thank you for celebrating Constitution Day with us here in the United States.
Well, it's an enormous pleasure. Thank you.